So, Bray Wyatt, what went wrong? Well, he absolutely sucks. Goodbye. Okay, bring it back in. Of course not. Of course, he doesn't absolutely suck. But that is going to be a lot of people's default answer, including me at my absolute grumpiest, when they see Bray Wyatt's name in a title like this. Or this. It's down there now, isn't it? Good. The Eater of Worlds is one of the most divisive wrestlers in WWE. Now, there are those among the fanbase who see him as this ultra-talented but criminally undermined byproduct of WWE creative, and then there are those who just think the guy's a bit rubbish. But as usual, the conversation is a little bit more detailed, a little bit more complicated, and indeed a little bit more nuanced than that. And the good news is we have a series just for debates like this. So welcome back to What Went Wrong, the semi/not at all regular series in which we pinpoint a struggling WWE star and try to figure out where it all went tits up. You might remember previous entries on Asuka and Finn Balor, but with that out of the way, let's get cracking with everyone's favourite smelly swamp wizard. My name is Andy, and you're watching Bray Wyatt, What Went Wrong. We are just a short while removed from Elimination Chamber, and as usual, it was a rather up and down pay-per-view highlighted undeniably by that awesome men's chamber in the main event. Now, as a discerning viewer of all the content we produce here at WhatCulture.com, I know you really care about things like what went down on WWE's big pay-per-views. You care about the matches and the storylines that feed into them, you care about the ramifications on the backslide out, and you care about what came before as a way to frame what came after. You care about all of these things until WWE's booking makes it prohibitive to do so. So thinking about Elimination Chamber might evoke memories of your favourite versions of the match, your favourite moments within the match, or maybe drive you to predict the form of guys like Kofi Kingston who really starred coming out of that main event. There's nothing quite like a good anniversary comparison in the content game, but sadly, there's nothing quite like a bad one at the banter end of the very same seesaw. In considering the 2 years that have passed since Bray Wyatt finally became WWE Champion at Elimination Chamber 2017, there's only one side of that seesaw that the Eater of Worlds belongs on, and only one horror-filled house where that lonely, disused seesaw still sits. Now, if we can change gears for a second, the Revival's recent Raw Tag Team title victory served as a reminder of just how quickly things can change in modern WWE. It's the sort of turnaround that simply makes your heart pine for the simplicity of an old episode of Superstars from 1992. Dash and Dawson were playing the dreaded 50-50 game with the Lucha House Party prior to asking to get the hell out of the company altogether. 4 wins later, and they're in the spot that many people had pegged for them after debuting the night after WrestleMania 33. Listen to that point again. WrestleMania 33. We're not talking about a pre-network era burial here. The Revival made their debut one night after the Ultimate Thrill Ride. To quote my bald brother Pitbull, they'd been given the green light, and they were ready to go. Yes, I hate myself. A dream match with the recently returned Hardy Boys surely beckoned, as did a feud with the New Day. Remember all that? Well, of course you do. That WrestleMania was less than 2 years ago, and it painted WWE's grey skies neon blue and yellow for months during the build. WWE were in supreme form building that show up, and for the most part it really showed on the night, with runtimes moderated for the good of an otherwise exhausting night of entertainment. Minutes were maximised when Goldberg and Brock Lesnar went to war in just 4 of them, and God, do I love that match. The Miz and Maurice were beaten in under 10, and the Hardys' return stunt show was done in a spry 11, because there was a lot to get through elsewhere on the show, and no least Bray Wyatt's overdue WrestleMania redemption. Wyatt's WrestleMania record up to that point had been a catalogue of high-profile failures in a WWE run full of regular weekly ones. Losing to John Cena at WrestleMania 30 was a burial in plain sight. A loss to The Undertaker 1 year later was even less subtle, and while he was one of countless wrestlers to work injured at Mania 32, WWE still found a way for him to get bantered back to the backwaters by The Rock. But 2017 was going to be different, and not like the others at all. or so we thought. Bray's Elimination Chamber win came right as his friendship with Randy Orton had rehabilitated two stone-dead characters. The Viper had won the Royal Rumble a month earlier, then bound himself to his bond with Wyatt. There was genuine synergy between the two and, more importantly, legitimate emotional investment in an angle based on their increased crowd reactions. People were into this, and it was really working. And then, well, Randy Orton literally burned it to the ground. Acting as rashly in kayfabe as WWE's creative team do outside of it, Orton revelled in his revelation of a 6-month ruse by setting fire to Bray's compound to, heat up their WrestleMania clash. Once again, I hate myself. The Viper may have been a snake in the grass alright, but his arson seemed to sap the supposed superpowers out of his former cult leader until Bray bit back with some awfully stupid prop-based threats just days away from their showdown on the grandest stage of them all. Still, at least the wrestlers got all the silliness out of their systems before the match. Yeah, no, that's right. The maggots. The bloody maggots, for God's sake. Now, the phrase "it has to get better before it gets worse" isn't one that can always be applied to professional wrestling. There becomes a point in which a program or performer goes off the rails, and sometimes there's just no way of returning from it. At WrestleMania 33, Wyatt and Orton's storyline didn't just derail, it was destroyed. Bray, the WWE champion and supposed top guy, was rendered less than a corpse by the career-killing creation that WWE had devised. And it's astonishing that he wasn't corpsing himself during a match that descended into Amdram theatre quicker than his tenure with the title swirled down the pisser. Maggots and other grotty bugs were transposed onto the canvas, presumably by Bray, and presumably to unnerve Orton. It was pure wrestle crap. Process all of this in kayfabe for just a moment. Wyatt's supernatural powers extended to controlling the bloody lighting rig and some mad projection hardware hanging above the room. Think of the actual damage this dafty could have done if he'd used those powers for destructive purposes rather than going to the trouble of filming or paying for footage of scurrying insects. Think about that, or don't, because if you do, Bray Wyatt is a completely broken entity. In that moment, he became a useless, unwashed cretin capable of even less than he used to promise to his deluded followers. That's exactly what he was at WrestleMania 33, and Orton, well, he just kinda no-sold the bugs and dropped Bray with a single RKO in just 10 minutes 30. Wyatt was over, and not in the good way. But if only the feud was as well. So the new WWE champion Randy Orton was just 2 weeks away from being fed to the catastrophic Jinder Mahal experiment, but the bones of his feud with Bray were still being picked at. The less said about their horrible House of Horrors match, the better, because enough words were wasted on that atrocity at the time anyway. Wyatt won that match long after any of it mattered. A bizarrely common occurrence for a man with magical powers, but he wasn't finished pissing it up in 2017. A never-ending feud with Finn Balor is still only remembered even today for everything that was wrong about it. At one point, Bray tipped a bucket of bloody, viscous, acidic liquid in a scene that resembled something like spaghetti bolognese slasher fic. He lost to both the demon and the man versions of Balor, and then fortunately jobbed out to illness ahead of wrestling him as Sister Abigail in makeup and a cheap, ill-fitting dress. For the love of God, thank you that we didn't see that. Bray Wyatt was broken, confirmed, and it then fell to a man who couldn't quite be referred to as the same thing to fly in a drone and airlift him right out of the trash. Matt Hardy saved more than his own career when he created the Broken Universe in TNA. His brother Jeff gained a renewed purpose, and his various special edition Impact broadcasts found work for the Rock and Roll Express, the Hurricane, and many more. 3 of those 5 names are back on WWE's books in 2019, proving the very real powers of the Lake of Reincarnation at the bottom of Matt's weird and wonderful garden. But unfortunately, Bray Wyatt's circle of suctitude was immune, even to that. Hardy chucked him in the lake at the end of their Raw Ultimate Deletion, as the company took one last punt on a guy who was their top champion just 12 months prior. Wyatt had been booted up the arse by the creative team before, but never literally kicked into a river in order to facilitate a fresh start. And said start came on the WrestleMania 34 kickoff show when he showed up out of nowhere in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and helped Matt, his new ally, to to victory. The Deleters of Worlds rapidly rose up the flimsiest tag division in years, winning the Raw brand's belts in a lame tribute act to the Hardys' own return 1 year prior. It was familiarly awful ground for the Bray Wyatt character. Wyatt had long passed the point of being a lame Undertaker parody, and his backwoods bollocks was closer to God-win than God-like. The Phineas to Matt Hardy's Henry saw out the remainder of their run before the latter eased into what looked like retirement at the time, and like one of his former family members, Bray simply disappeared off the screen with nary a whisper. Now, a feature titled What Went Wrong perhaps shouldn't come with a happy ending anyway, but even the most headstrong optimist would struggle to find one for Bray Wyatt. He may yet reappear out of the dark for the first time in 2019 before WrestleMania 35, but would anyone really care anymore? That's the worst thing about Bray Wyatt. He went from being just this kind of goofy, misused gimmick to being the saddest creation in the company, and that is why this piece has no happy ending. If there's a light at the end of the tunnel, it's probably only a flickering candle in a lantern. And let's be honest, Bray's only gonna blow the damn thing out again anyway. So at this stage, Bray, follow your own advice. Cut and run. So there you have it, folks. That's our take on Bray Wyatt's WWE career and how the whole thing became such a big bloody mess. But I do know that the guy has a lot of die-hard fans out there, so let's get some discussion going down in the comment section. What do you guys think of the factors that contributed to the Eater of Worlds getting eaten up? Do you think he can be salvaged? And when do you think we'll see him again? Sound off down below, get the discussion going, or just call me a cuck with weird ears. You do you. And once you've done that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And once you've done that, you can follow us at WhatCulture WWE on Twitter. And if you're into that kind of thing, you can follow me at Andy H. Murray. And then head over to WhatCulture.com and check out the wonderful article on which this piece is based, written by my very good friend, the great man, Michael Hamflett. The link will be down there in the section or floating around here. Who knows? Anyway, I've been Andy, and I'll see you later.